Bringing it all together, really. I was thinking about this when I was coming to the studio. I was like, we're getting on to about a year now since we've started doing these shows for your health in your hands, and I got to tell you, it has been very educative for me. Probably more for me than it is for you, but we've tried our possible best to kind of give you a 360-degree view on health. And if you remember, when we first started, we started with the proposition that black people, Nigerians, tend to have it worse off when it comes to health. One of our topics was why blacks die first, if you remember. And as a matter of fact, I went to, when we first were putting this together, I went to see the executive director of programs over here, Mr. Coca, and I presented this to him. And to his credit, I mean, there was no big fuss about it. It was like, yeah, this is something that we need to present to Nigerians as a whole. And so they've given us all the support we could possibly ask for. So really, really, really grateful. And as we've started producing these shows, as we started giving the information out, we've been having a lot of responses from you guys. And it has helped us to shape it, because feedback is so important. Helping, knowing how the information is coming across is so important to be able to adjust, to move things around. And so, again, it's been much more educative for me than it has been for you. So I wanted to say thank you for your continual support of this program and your just being involved in this whole thing. What does bringing it all together mean? Remember, health is a large word. It's not just about not having heart disease or not having heart attacks. Health is about your spiritual health, it's about your mental and emotional health, it's about your physical health, and again, it's about the environment as a whole. The government also has a part to play. There are some things that we just can't do on our own. For instance, water supply, electricity supply, shelter, heat, protection from terrorists and bandits and all that. That's mostly the government's responsibility. But we need to be able to know how to interact with the government. We need to be able to know what our rights are and and where to go to for help. And that's why we've had people from the government. We've had the DG of NAFDAC, we've had the DG of NCDC, we've had other dignitaries, we've had high-ranked doctors in government hospitals to come and again to show you what needs to be done and to show you what is actually available, because in the final analysis, your health is in your hands. And if you don't take charge of your health, if you don't take control of your health, you will be the one to suffer for it. And that's as we're looking at these things. And again, I'm going to throw out a lot of statistics, a lot of information that you probably have heard of before, especially if you've been following our programs. Now, for instance, black people tend to have higher rates of strokes, high rates of heart attacks, high rates of cancer, especially prostate cancer in men, breast cancer in women, and we tend to die more readily from these diseases. Not only do we die more readily, it's harder to treat it in black people as opposed to in white people. The results, and we tend to have more recurrences when we're speaking about cancer. It's not just because our healthcare system is not up to par, although you can argue that. It's not just because we have an environment that has infectious diseases, and so we're dealing with a lot more things like malaria and typhoid than maybe somebody in the US may be dealing with, although that is true as well. It's not just because our lifestyle is different. We tend to be more sedentary. We don't have as much an exercise, outdoor culture as white people in Western world have, although that's a factor as well. We've tried to emphasize that it goes even deeper than the external. It goes right down to our genes. They are finding out, and I know we've said this, that there are certain I don't know how best to put it, deficits, deficiencies in the way our genes work that make us more susceptible. And I know that a white person probably wouldn't be able to say what I'm saying, but I'm a black person, so I can say it to you. That makes us more susceptible to things like heart attacks, to strokes, to cancers, and even mental health conditions. And a few weeks ago, we had the whole mental health day and celebration. But granted, so we have those deficiencies and deficits. Our goal is to enlighten you about those deficits so you don't take things for granted, so you know what to do to compensate for those deficits. And some of them are really quite simple. Some of them may just include come out in the sun more often, for instance. Vitamin D is so crucial. We black people tend to have lower levels of vitamin D. And the research shows that vitamin D is crucial in everything from heart health to cardiovascular health to mental health to immune health to gut health. So you need to research that on your own. These shows are not enough. We just give you snippets. We just give you ideas. We just give you topics, bits and pieces. And it's up to you, for your sake and for your family's sake, to go and investigate further. We also talk about things like sleep. It's so important. There's a bunch of research coming out now about how important sleep is to overall health. Some people are even saying that sleep may even be more important than exercise and diet. I could argue with that, but because I'm big on nutrition. But the numbers that are coming out, the data that is coming out, show that sleep is extremely important, and we just take it for granted. So in this show, I know I've been rambling a little bit, but in this show, in this episode, we're really going to look into some of these other areas, and hopefully you'll be able to go back into our archives and watch some of the videos as we talk about them. So we're going to take a break now, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Health is a large word. It involves not just the mental and the physical, but also the spiritual. As a matter of fact, it involves the entire outlook and being of man. That's a quote that I love so much. And I think it encapsulates what we're talking about. You really cannot have adequate physical health without looking at the spiritual and the mental and even the socio-economic as well. Speaking about socio-economic, we have a big problem with mental illness in this country and probably in other other third world countries. Yes, we do have it in the Western world as well. But here's the difference. One, we don't have the healthcare system what's the best word? Lacking. The healthcare system, we don't have enough doctors. The standard, in fact, the numbers are appalling. One psychiatrist to over 1 million people in Nigeria. Of course, we have a deficiency in psychologists and neurosurgeons as well. I think throughout my training in UCH, it was we only had about 2, at most 3 neurosurgeons, and yet we'd have people coming with all kinds of accidents, head injuries, issues, cancers, and all those things. So they were obviously overwhelmed. So we have that issue there. But also in terms of just psychiatric, psychological, taking charge of your mental health. We know that financial issues, stress, can have a huge emotional effect on well-being. We know that poorer nations tend to have higher rates of mental illness. And as a matter of fact, because again, the cultural stigma around having a mental health illness, it makes it more difficult for people like us, black people, to go and seek medical attention. As a matter of fact, I have friends who are psychiatrists, and when they set up shop in a company, a multinational company, they make an announcement that all the staff who want to see a psychiatrist or just want to help some mental health checkup, most times the black people or the Nigerians don't come at all. It's the white people who are there that come to see him for help. So it's a huge stigma around mental health that we still are yet to break. But I can tell you for a fact, the fact that people are not coming for treatment does not mean that they don't have mental health issues. You yourself know it. You know people who are struggling, whether with depression or with one kind of mental illness or the other. So it's a big issue. Again, the understory is that we need to understand some of these basic principles that can help us to better manage our own health. And really, my own experience is this: once patients and once people, average people, understand more about their health, their mental health, their physical health, they are more apt to work with their doctors. They are more apt to take the medications as they are prescribed. They are more apt to report to the doctor if there's an issue going on. They are quick, more apt to say, yes, this is a problem. This drug did this, this, and this, but I read about this, this, and this. How do we reconcile the two? And the doctor can now take time to explain. The truth is, doctors don't have the time to explain to every single person. There are lots of patients they have to deal with on a daily basis. So the more educated you are as a person, the better your doctor will be able to help you. Very, very, very important. So speaking about mental health, we're just going to throw out a few things that are really, really important. We found out that most mental illnesses have low amounts. People with mental illness, whether it's depression or schizophrenia, psychosis, whatever it is, almost without exception, I'm saying about 95% is what they found out. They are low in things like zinc. They are low in things like vitamin D. Again, black people are already very, very low in vitamin D. They are also low in things like magnesium. All right? In addition to all that, we also have blood flow problems. The brain needs to have adequate blood flow to all the cells in the brain so that the blood flow can produce or provide oxygen and other nutrients. As we grow older, that blood flow is compromised, so we need to take nutrients that will improve blood flow to the brain. So it's not just about what's going on in the brain, it's what's going on in the cardiovascular system, what's going on in the gut. If you remember, we had a show called The Great Secret of Life, and I spoke extensively, I tried to speak extensively about what happens in your digestive system, what happens in your gut, doesn't stay in your gut. It affects the brain to a very large extent. In fact, they are calling the gut, the digestive system, especially the large intestine and the small intestine, they're calling it the second brain. And there's a lot of research going on there as well. I know I'm rambling again, but your mental health conditions to a very large extent are affected by what's going on in your gut. We talked about probiotics, we talked about enzymes, we spoke about fiber as things that can help to improve the health of your gut. So I wanted to focus on this particular episode to say, let's look at what's going on in the gut, what's going on in the mental aspect, because the more capable you are mentally, the more you are able to take charge of your mental states, the better your whole body will be as a result. Now, to wrap things up for this segment, there are three systems that we as black people have to pay attention to. One, the cardiovascular system. Two, the immune system, because it's your immune system really that protects you against things like cancer and even heart disease. And three, your nervous system, your brain and your mental health. So those three put together are the most important. There are about 12 systems, but those three, Yes, I forgot one. The fourth one is the gut, the digestive system, like I said. So those four, you put them together and they will help to give you a concept of what you need to do to take care of. So we're going to take a short break now, and we'll be right back for the third and final segment. Welcome back to Your Health in Your Hands. The reason we're focusing so much on health is not just about you. It's not just about your spouse. It's really about the next generation. And I'll explain in a minute. But as you know, what we do with the Brain and Body Foundation, every week, every Friday, you can come to our center. We will we will provide support for kids with brain disorders of any kind and also kids with sickle cell disease. We have a mandate from the Federal Ministry of Health to do that. But that's beside the point. The reason we're focusing on this so much is that we see at our center the effects of ill health in parents, especially pregnant women, on their offspring. I can give you story after story after story. And it's not just about being on drugs, it's not just about smoking. It's about people who probably just didn't know any better. I mean, nutrition-wise, let's use nutrition as an example. I think one of the most popular examples is the one about folic acid. Now, I think it was the 80s or before then, it was when they now started finding out that women who didn't have enough folic acid in their system, folic acid is one of the B vitamins. If they didn't have enough folic acid in their system, the children ended up having some severe defects in their brains and in their spinal cords. In other words, these kids could not walk, and they were confined to wheelchairs for the rest of their lives. Think about that. For a simple reason that this folic acid that probably is not more than 50 kobo. Do we still have kobo in this country? Maybe not. Maybe 1 naira. Let's just use 1 naira. We don't have 1 naira either, but you get the point. For whatever reason, they were unable, they probably didn't know, and probably just got pregnant. And this happens over and over and over and over again. Now let me ask you this. Is it possible that there are other defects, other deficiencies, other nutrients that pregnant women should be having that they are not taking because they just don't know? Or maybe it's not emphasized by their nurses and doctors? Well, if you and I are going to be absolutely honest with each other, you will know that it's true. There must be. It can't just be one thing, folic acid. And as I've studied this and I've researched this, I've seen that there's a whole slew of nutrients. The mother has to be healthy. The father too has to be healthy to come together and have a baby. They're finding out that they're finding correlation with in autism with older, and I don't know how true this is, but older fathers, kids who have come from older fathers tend to have more likelihood of having autism. So, and a quick thing about folic acid. Folic acid should be in the mother's system before she gets pregnant. It's not when you get pregnant and then you confirm it, oh, I'm pregnant, and then now you start taking folic acid. That is wrong, because folic acid is needed right away to start developing the brain, starts growing brain cells. And if it's not in the system when the child is created, or when the ovum is fertilized, that child will be deficient. So you want to start thinking about it. If you're trying to get pregnant, if you're married, you want to make sure as a woman you have enough folic acid. Again, it is not enough. There are other things like you need zinc, you need omega-3 fatty acids, you need vitamin D. These three for sure. You need vitamin C. Again, we see the effects of not having these things or these nutrients at our centers, and you see those defects. Another thing, sickle cell disease. You and I know that sickle cell disease is a big problem in Nigeria. Nigeria is number 1 in the world when it comes to sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease happens because a parent who has AS, a man who has AS, and a woman who has the AS blood, they come together and one of their offspring. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all, but more often than not, one of the offspring has SS. SS can range in severity from, oh, I just have a pain once a year, to having crisis after crisis after crisis, day in, day out, week in, week out, confining the child to the hospital. And we have had children who have had multiple strokes by the time they were 10 come to us in wheelchairs. And by that time, a lot of damage has happened. It's really hard to get them back. Most times this happens, one, because the parents are unaware of their genotype, and two, it could be that they are aware about the importance of genotype, but they go to the wrong lab testing to get the genotype testing done, and it keeps on telling them that, oh, you are AA, you're fine, don't worry about it. And I've had parent after parent after parent who have had multiple testings, and they still said they were AA, they were okay, and then they had a child with sickle cell disease. So, and of course, they start blaming each other, and they're like suspicious of each other and saying what's going on. So it is crucial. In such cases, obviously, it's more, you can't really blame them because they were aware of these circumstances. It's just that they didn't go to the right place. But it's crucial that the nation as a whole, people as a whole, understand that your health cannot be taken for granted. You cannot leave it to your doctor. You cannot leave it to the government. You cannot leave it to your high school teacher, your spouse. Men like to do that a lot. Just leave it to the spouse. Let the woman take care of. Let the woman take care of the health of the household. I'll take care of getting money. You can't do that. You have to be aware of the risks and the problems you will face as a black man, a black woman, a black child in this environment, and what you need to do to reduce that. So, I know we've started a lot of other things, but one of the things we want to add to this show is that we want to start talking about giving you some health tips. So things like health tip of the week. Health tip of the week for this week is brush your teeth at night. Brush your teeth at night. Why have I said that? We're now finding out, and if you watched our show on strokes, on heart disease, cancer, even premature, even pregnancy, what they are finding out is that unhealthy gums, unhealthy teeth, unhealthy mouth, people who don't take don't take their personal dental hygiene seriously enough, tend to have a higher risk of heart attacks, strokes, cancer. Believe it, I found it very difficult to believe when I first saw it myself, but it is true. They tend to have a higher risk of those things. And people ask me why. Well, watch the previous videos. So brush your teeth at night. I know you brush your teeth during the day. It's not just about trying to, not having a smelly mouth, but you've got to. But it's about keeping you healthy. Again, for pregnant women, if your teeth are unhealthy, if your gums are unhealthy, it will affect your growing, the child in you. As a matter of fact, gum disease has been linked to premature birth and abortions or miscarriages. So very important. For more health tips, make sure you go to our website, brainandbodyfoundation.org. And as you know, we are doing this as a service to humanity. There's always room for support and donations, volunteers. We're always looking out for people who can help out for us to do what we're doing. So you'll find the information at the end of the video, at the end of this show. And stay tuned for more information. We will see you next week. Thank you.